Hello and welcome to my channel. Today we're going to look at this beautiful laser engraver. I really wanted to buy this laser engraver because it's small, compact, it's super fast. It has the infrared laser, so basically it has two lasers. It has the 2-watt infrared laser and 10-watt blue laser. Small disclaimer. I wanted to buy it myself, but xTool company proposed me to make a review and to keep the engraver, and I was happy to accept this. So I get this machine for free, but I can say whatever I want about it. So I can say a negative stuff and still keep the machine. In my opinion, this is a perfect machine for a small shop which produces some small parts, and I know that many of my viewers, they either produce some parts to sell or they plan to produce some parts to sell. And I think this machine is perfect for this purpose, because like this you can engrave the logo, you can customize your products, and you can engrave both metal or plastic parts. It has a quite small working area, but I think this working area is enough for most of the applications. So it's 115 millimeters by 115 millimeters. So it's something like this. And usually this is exactly what you need in order to put your logo, in order to put some information or to customize part. And interesting feature is that it has a crazy precision of 0.002 of a millimeter. It's super crazy precision. I never saw the precision like this one. Let's open it, let's test it, let's see how it engraves and also how it cuts. It can also cut some material because of this 10-watt blue laser. And also I would like to try to atomize this engraver in order to make a system with such engraver which would be able to engrave bunch of parts, like automatically. This would be nice. Let's get started. Look, this is all the parts which you can engrave or cut. So you can cut wood and acrylic, non-transparent acrylic, and you can engrave almost everything. Metals, this is anodized metal. This, I think, anodized metals. You can even engrave the food, and you can engrave the leather. And there is a manual. As always, the manual from the xTool is really well made. Nice. Ooh, machine itself. So there are some boxes. 1, 2, 3, 4. And the engraver. Cool. Nice compact machine. I also have another engraver from the same company, xTool. It's over there, so I put it on the wall like this. It does not take much space. It works perfectly. I really like the mechanics. Everything is great, but it's a little bit big, so that's why I don't use it very often. Because in order to use it, I need to free like half a meter of the desk space. And also this one does not have the enclosure. You can buy the separate enclosure, but I don't have it. And over here, the enclosure is kind of built in the machine. It does not take much space on the desk. Anyway, I never engrave more than 100 by 100 millimeters. Over here on the side, there is a quick start guide. There is this knob in order to focus the laser, to move it up and down. Also with this knob, you can start the job and you can repeat the job with the double press. The framing button. On the sides, these two ports. This one on the bottom, it's to connect your PC. This one is to connect your accessory like sliding table or rotational axis. This one is to connect the air purifier. This one is reserved for the future upgrades, for the future stuff. Power on, off, and this is the key. So if you don't want that someone use your engraver, you take this out. So this kind of security feature. Proper emergency stop button. Let's check what in these boxes. Over here it seems like there is different materials to try, and also this one, this is cool. This protects the engraver surface when you do the cutting. Cables. I suppose this is a power brick. Yes. 24 volts, 220 watts. And this is a tubing for the exhaust. The grease for a sliding door and the spare safety key. Ooh, it slides really well. For engraving multiple pieces, this is perfect. Like this, you can position the piece every time perfectly as it was before. And this is how it looks inside. This is actually the lens cover. This piece for the cutting, it should be installed like this, not like this. Like this, the air behind your materials, the fumes behind your materials, they're going to pass through these channels to the exhaust. I will keep this piece over here to protect this base in case if I do something wrong in the software. Okay, let's switch on the power. I will use the safety goggles just in case. And these safety goggles, they are good for the infrared and also for the blue laser. Ooh, nice! Run xTool Creative Space. Connect device. We are connecting via USB because we have not yet configured the Wi-Fi. So we can update the firmware. Okay, now over here and over here we can connect the Wi-Fi. Wi-Fi configuration is complete, so I'm just disconnecting the cable. Now I need to connect the device. Connect device via Wi-Fi, this one, and it's connected. Perfect. And with the Wi-Fi we can control this engraver using the app on the iPhone. When the device is simple, you're going to use it very often and it's going to be very useful. When the device is complicated, you need to set up, to spend a lot of time to set up it, to spend a lot of time to adjust everything. In this case, you don't use device very often. And this is nice that this tool is easy to use. With this knob, you can move up and down the entire lasers, the entire laser module, and like this you can focus. This is quite cool feature. Let's see how simple it's to focus it. So we have two distinct dots now. This means that it's not in focus. And now with the knob, we can bring them together. Now it's focused. I also have the desktop smoke purifier, so let's unpack it. The manual, the power brick, the box with exhaust tube, the spare pair filters, and the smoke purifier itself. It has a button on the front for manual control, and at the back there is intake, exhaust, power switch and power selector. The top can be opened to unveil the filter. This is a pre-filter, and this is a huge HEPA and carbon filter. And underneath there is a centrifugal fan. The connection is super simple. And now let's try to engrave. The power to the engraver, the power to the air purifier. This light over here indicates that it's connected and it recognizes the engraver. And with this button you can switch it on for some time. So you can either switch it on with this button like this, or it can be controlled directly by the engraver. So when the engraver is working, this one should switch on automatically. Let's try to control it with the iPad. Let's try to engrave this. Here you can choose if you want to engrave with the blue light or with the infrared. It's in focus. It should be in focus. This was so quick. Look, it's perfect. So fast. Let's try the second time, but with the infill inside. This is a really great result. The air purifier works perfectly because I don't feel much the fume from the engraving. I still can smell some fume from the engraving, but I think this is because this stock material is bigger than this door, and so I cannot close the door completely, and I think because of this there is some fume which escapes. But it's a really small amount. Cool, let's now try to cut something. Framing is good. Now let's start cutting. Haha, it cut it through. Look, this is beauty. Usually you should not run it with the open lid, but I did this for video. And again, beautiful result. Up to now, for this engraving and cutting, I used the blue laser. But this engraver also has the infrared laser, which is good for engraving metals and also anodized metals. And I have some anodized aluminum plates. And we can try to engrave them using the blue laser and using the infrared laser. This was crazy fast. There is a huge difference. The top one is engraved with the infrared laser, and the bottom one is engraved with the blue laser. And with this material, anodized aluminum, the infrared laser makes a way better job. It's not so clear on the camera, but the infrared laser engraved part is way better than this one, engraved with a blue laser. Because engraved with a blue laser, it's kind of yellowish or brownish. And this one is really white engraving. And it also works on steel. Now no one is going to steal my knife. Great! Look at these engraved cards. Just perfect. I mean, it's not perfect, it's not straight, but the concept is working. Good job, little robot. Good job, little engraver. I also have the sliding extension, so let's unbox it. The manual. It has the ruler on the side. It has several clamps to hold the material, the screwdriver and cable. The top part slides on the rollers. Metal rollers against metal rods. And there is an interesting mechanism for tensioning. I really like this design. Another ruler. It installs here. The top plate has the grooves to install clamps, and here's the clamps itself. There are two types of clamps. The installation is super simple. You need to align it and to connect it. Before using the slide extension, we need to do the calibration. The calibration is done, and now we have a big working area. Let's engrave this plate, which is way bigger than 10 by 10 centimeters engraving area. So I'm going to fix it over here. I would use this piece to tighten this. Let's see what do we have here. Don't judge me for these images, but the result is perfect. And of course, this slide extension you can use in order to engrave multiple pieces. But for this you need properly place your images which you would like to engrave on each piece. Now let's try to engrave 3 cards at the same time. Actually, it's not bad at all. I missed a little bit, but not much. On the first one, the distance between the letter and the H is okayish, and here it's too close. So I missed a little bit, but not much. This sliding extension is really well built. It works like it should, but there is a small, not a problem really, but the thing is that when you use the sliding extension, for the X-axis you use the sliding extension motor and not the galvanic system inside this head. Like this you have the fast motion in the Y direction, but you don't have the fast motion in the X direction. So in the X direction the motion is quite slow because it's the motion of this stepper motor to move the sliding extension. But it works properly and it's really well built. I really like these clamping pieces over here to clamp your work material, and not because you can clamp your work material, but also you can align your work material. Like for example, I put now 3 here, and I can put multiple cards like this, and every time they're going to be at the same position as before. Also, you can use the rotary attachment in order to engrave the circular pieces, or in order to cut the circular pieces. And of course, you can engrave something big through this hole. Or you can mount it on top of the conveyor belt, and like this everything which passes on the conveyor belt can be engraved. It can engrave, it can cut, it can beautifully engrave acrylic, stone, leather, anodized aluminum, steel and other metals. Now let's talk about pros and cons. First of all, this laser engraver is super fast, like crazy fast. Second, it has the blue laser and the infrared laser. So with the blue and infrared lasers, I think you can engrave almost every material. The laser engraver, air purifier and also the slide extensions, they are really well built. And I should say that all the products that I tested from the xTool are really well built from the mechanical design point of view. I think this is the main reason why I like them. Another advantage is the enclosure. Some other companies which makes also these styles of engravers, usually they have enclosure which is kind of strange. It looks like they build an engraver and afterwards they decided, we need to put enclosure, and they decide how we can design this enclosure. So enclosure, it's kind of addition to the engraver. And here enclosure, it's really well integrated. We see that when they designed this product, they already thought about enclosure. And for the safety, this is super important. Another thing which I personally like is the emergency stop button. Maybe some of you will say that this is not really necessary, but I really like this because for me it's important to have the second way to switch off the machine. So like this, when I switch off the machine with the main switch, I can also push the emergency stop button, and like this I know that the machine is off and I can take off my safety goggles. And actually this is another very important point. With such kind of machines, especially when the enclosure is not closed completely, you should always wear the safety goggles. Better be safe than sorry. Also, big surprise for me was air purifier. I thought that it's a good addition, but now I think that it's an excellent addition. And I think it's almost must to have. Unless you can connect this tube which is coming out from the machine, you can connect it somewhere, like for outside, like you can put it outside or whatever. But in the case of the region where I live, during the winter, you cannot just open the window and put this tube outside. You freeze. Now let's talk about cons, and I should say that I have not saw many disadvantages of this system. Actually, I saw mainly two disadvantages, and one of them is tiny. This etiquette is huge. I don't like it here. Maybe it should be smaller and put on the back, but this is a minor thing. And the second thing, when you use the sliding extension, the engraving is slower because for the X motion it uses the sliding extension. And I would like to see in the software the option to engrave the bunch of different pieces. So meaning that imagine instead of moving sliding extension for the X-axis, what you can do, you can move, stop there. When you have like a small piece like this one, you can stop there, engrave it using the galvanic head, and when it's engraved, it moves further. For another card, it stops there. The galvanic head engrave again this in X and Y, etc. So like I would like to see the option where you can put the sliding extension in the mode where it goes, stop, engraves, goes, stop, engraves, goes, stop, engraves. I understand that it would not work properly with a long piece, with a long single piece, but I think it would work perfectly with a bunch of small pieces which you engrave one by one. But again, this is just an additional option for the software which I would like to see, and maybe in the future they will make update with it. By the way, important point that with this engraver you can use either the software from the xTool or you can use the Lightburn. I know that many of you prefer the Lightburn, but in my opinion the xTool software is really simple and really easy to use. It's user-friendly and you can do almost everything there. I never had a problem that I was not able to find some option which I need. Thank you for watching this video till the end. Huge thank you to people who support me via Patreon and via YouTube channel membership. Here are their names. Thank you, you are the best. As usual, stay safe, good luck with your projects, and see you next time. Way better.